You know that feeling when you spend a lot of money on something, and then a few weeks later, you start wondering if you made the right call? That is exactly what happened to a friend of mine. He saved up, bought a big OLED television, brought it home, set it up in his living room, and then noticed something odd. In the daytime, with the curtains open and the lights on, the picture looked kind of washed out. Not terrible, but not what he expected for that price. He kept thinking maybe he had a setting wrong. He went through the menus, watched YouTube tutorials, adjusted the brightness, and it still did not look as impressive as it did in the store. The store, of course, had dim lighting. His living room does not. That story is more common than most people realize. And if you have had a similar experience, or if you are currently trying to decide between a mini LED television and an OLED, this video is going to help you think it through clearly. No hype, no exaggeration, just honest information based on real tests and real buying experience. Before we go further, I want to ask you something directly. Drop a comment below and tell me what television you are using right now, and what problems or frustrations you are dealing with. Maybe it is dim in the daytime. Maybe the colors look off. Maybe you just feel like you overpaid. Your experience matters, and it helps other viewers too. Also, if you find this kind of content helpful, subscribing and hitting the like button really does make a difference. And if you want to look at specific models we mentioned today, the links are down in the description. What blind tests actually reveal. So let us talk about what is actually happening in these blind tests. The concept is simple. You take multiple televisions, hide the brand names, hide the price tags, hide the technology type, and you just ask people to watch and choose. No branding influence. No price anchoring. Just the image on screen. A 2026 YouTube comparison did exactly this. They lined up a $399 LED television, an $899 mini LED, and a $2,499 OLED. The room had normal lighting, the kind most people actually live with. 9 out of 12 viewers picked the mini LED as the best picture in bright scenes, not the OLED. The one that costs nearly $2,000 less won the vote. Now, this does not mean OLED is a bad technology. It absolutely is not. But it does mean that in everyday living room conditions, the most expensive option does not always deliver the most satisfying image to the average eye. And that is a very important distinction for anyone shopping on a real budget. Understanding why brightness changes everything. Here is something that does not get explained clearly enough in stores. OLED televisions use self-lit pixels. Each pixel creates its own light. This is what gives OLED those incredibly deep blacks. In a dark room, late at night, with no lamps or windows, OLED looks almost otherworldly. The contrast is genuinely stunning. But when you introduce ambient light, sunlight through a window, overhead ceiling lights, even a lamp across the room, that strength becomes less noticeable. OLED panels on larger screens typically produce somewhere around 400 to 500 nits of brightness across a fully lit image. That sounds fine on paper, but in a bright room, it can look softer than you expect. Mini LED works differently. Instead of self-lit pixels, it uses a traditional backlight. But not just one big backlight like older televisions. Mini LED uses thousands of tiny LED zones behind the screen, each one independently controlled. This allows it to get very bright in specific areas while dimming others. Many mini LED televisions today reach over 1,000 nits, and the higher-end models go to 2,000, 3,000, even 4,000 nits. That makes a significant visual difference in a typical home environment. The brands. Changing the value equation. Let us talk about specific brands, because this is where the conversation gets very practical. TCL and Hisense are the two names that keep coming up in these blind test wins. Both are Chinese manufacturers, and both have invested heavily in mini LED technology over the last few years. They are not cutting corners the way budget brands once did. They are producing genuinely competitive panels. The TCL QM8, at around $700 for the 55-inch in the United States and around €750 in Europe, consistently beats televisions that cost twice as much in bright room evaluations. It hits over 2,000 nits, handles HDR content with impressive punch, and for most living rooms, it is going to look excellent every single day. The Hisense U8N sits around $800 in the US and €850 in Europe. It pushes around 3,000 nits, which is remarkable for the price. In global blind test comparisons, it performed strongly against premium competitors that cost considerably more. Samsung's Neo QLED line, particularly the QN90D, comes in around $1,200 in the US and €1,300 in Europe. It delivers around 2,000 nits with vibrant color reproduction. It is a step up in refinement, though you are paying for the Samsung name and build quality alongside the panel performance. Sony's BRAVIA9 is the most expensive mini LED on this list, around $2,000 in the US and €2,200 in Europe. It tops 2026 rankings for darkroom performance and hits 4,000 nits. If you want the absolute best mini LED experience and are willing to pay for it, Sony delivers that. But compared to TCL or Hisense, the gap in everyday performance does not justify the gap in price for most buyers. The LG C4 OLED remains a genuinely excellent television, around $1,500 in the US and €1,600 in Europe. But in bright room tests, it has lost to mini LED panels consistently. If you are a film enthusiast who watches in a dark, controlled environment, OLED still has advantages. But for the average home setup, mini LED is simply more forgiving and more versatile. What to actually check before you buy? Here is the practical guidance part, and this is important. Before you buy any television, there are a few things you should know and check. First, think honestly about your room. Does natural light come through during the day? Do you watch with the lights on most of the time? If yes, brightness matters more than perfect blacks, and mini LED is likely the better fit. If you primarily watch at night in a controlled environment, OLED's strengths become more meaningful. Second, check the return policy before you take anything home. Most major retailers in the US and Europe offer 15 to 30-day return windows. Use that time seriously. Set the television up in your actual room, with your actual lighting, watching your actual content. Do not judge it in the store under showroom lighting. Take it home and live with it. Third, understand the warranty. For televisions in this price range, a minimum 2-year manufacturer warranty is reasonable. TCL and Hisense have improved their after-sales support considerably in recent years. Sony and Samsung have longer established service networks. Ask the retailer about extended warranty options, but do not feel pressured to buy them immediately. Make that decision calmly. Fourth, do not get distracted by refresh rate marketing. Most content you watch, streaming, cable, movies, does not require more than 60 Hz. 120 Hz matters for gaming and fast sports. Know whether that applies to you before letting it influence your decision. The burn-in question. Nobody answers honestly. One topic that causes a lot of anxiety around OLED televisions is burn-in. This is when static elements, channel logos, news tickers, navigation bars, gradually leave a faint, permanent mark on the screen over time. OLED is more susceptible to this than mini LED or standard LED panels. To be fair, modern OLED panels have improved significantly in this area. Mini LED has no burn-in risk. Period. The technology simply does not work in a way that allows retention. For buyers in the 30 to 70-plus age range who plan to keep a television for 8 to 12 years, this long-term reliability factor carries real weight. You are not just buying the picture quality today, you are buying peace of mind for the years ahead. How marketing creates the price gap. Something worth understanding is how the price premium for OLED has been maintained through marketing rather than purely through performance. Retailers have trained consumers over years to associate OLED with the pinnacle of television quality, and at the time it was introduced, that was largely accurate. The technology was genuinely ahead. But mini LED has moved quickly. The gap in everyday visible performance has narrowed considerably. In 2026 market reports, mini LED is capturing more of the premium segment as consumers realize they can get 90% of the OLED experience, and sometimes more in bright conditions for significantly less money. TCL and Hisense are expanding aggressively, offering screen sizes up to 100 inches and beyond at prices that would have seemed impossible just 3 or 4 years ago. This does not mean retailers are dishonest. Most salespeople genuinely believe what they have been trained to say. But the training often comes from brand materials that naturally emphasize the strengths of premium products. Your job as a buyer is to ask the right questions and test in your own environment. A practical comparison before you decide. Let us bring this together in a way that is easy to apply. If your budget is around $700 to $800 in the US or euros in Europe, and you want the best picture quality for a bright living room, the TCL QM8 or Hisense U8N are genuinely strong choices. You are not settling. You are making a well-informed decision. If you want to step up in refinement and are comfortable spending around $1,200, Samsung's Neo QLED QN90D adds build quality and color accuracy that some buyers will appreciate. If you primarily watch in a dark room and are not concerned about bright ambient light, and your budget reaches $1,500 to $2,000, LG's OLED or Sony's BRAVIA9 offer experiences that have genuine strengths worth considering. Whatever you choose, buy it from a retailer with a clear return policy. Spend time with it in your actual environment. Do not let a store demo make the decision for you. So, I have been watching the television industry go through cycles for a long time. Every few years, a new technology arrives and gets declared the permanent winner. Plasma was going to last forever. Then it did not. 3D televisions were the future. Then they disappeared. OLED was supposed to be untouchable. And it is still excellent. But mini LED has arrived and changed the conversation in ways the industry did not fully anticipate. The best television for you is not the one with the most impressive spec sheet or the highest price tag. It is the one that fits your room, your viewing habits, your budget, and your long-term expectations. Sometimes that is a $700 TCL. Sometimes it is a $2,000 Sony. The answer depends on you, not on a store display. I hope this helped you think through the decision more clearly. Drop a comment below telling me what television you are using right now and what is bothering you about it. or what you are happy with. There is a lot of real experience in this comment section, and it is worth reading. Links for the models mentioned today are in the description. Take your time, do your homework, and make the choice that genuinely fits your life.